All right, folks, today we're talking chickens. No, not the fried kind, though, who doesn't love that? But live backyard chickens. Specifically, we're breaking down the pros and cons of raising chickens at home. Is it all farm fresh eggs and cute clucks, or is there more to it? Let's dive in. The short answer is always yes if you're out in the countryside. However, there was one time we were looking at a house in town and I got the question. Truth be told, I was somewhat surprised since the buyer was moving from New York City and surely she didn't have them on her balcony in Manhattan. Regardless, I got the wild idea of calling the director of planning and zoning for the town and put the question to him. Wonder of wonders, he answered the phone, fielded my question, and gave us the answer by quoting the ordinance relating to live poultry. Basically, you couldn't have animals that made noise, meaning no roosters. My buyer got a happy smile on her face and bought the house. Last we spoke, she has 3 hens in her backyard coop and couldn't be happier. For a while, having chickens was all the rage, and I got the question 9 times out of 10 from buyers. The COVID-19 pandemic was the event that got me into the game. Not knowing what would happen with the food supply, it was laying hens in a vegetable garden that provided some peace of mind until things settled down. And while eggs are typically not too expensive at the grocery store, there's nothing like going into the chicken house and gathering the day's clutch of eggs. So, without further ado, let's get into the pros and cons of raising chickens at home. Number 1, fresh eggs, baby. Fresh, farm to table, backyard eggs are a game changer. They taste better, they're healthier, and you know exactly what your chickens are eating. Plus, if you have kids collecting the eggs, that's going to be their favorite chore. Just don't expect that enthusiasm to last forever. Of course, buying eggs at the store, I remember seeing a carton that said vegetarian fed hens. What the heck does that mean? Does that mean that they fed them vegetarians? I wonder what vegetarians taste like to a hen. Anyway, you can probably figure out what they meant, but that just struck me as funny. Vegetarian fed hens. So I guess there's a use for them. Anyway, but I digress. Number 2, pest control. Chickens are natural pest control experts. Those little gals will happily gobble up ticks, grubs, and other annoying bugs. So if you've got a garden or just hate mosquitoes as much as I do, they help keep your yard bug free. Number 3, they're composting champions. Now, if you're into gardening, chickens are your new best friends. Their manure is packed with nitrogen and other nutrients that make your compost piles supercharged. Some people may worry about the smell. The packed with nitrogen part comes about due to the ammonia they excrete. And if you have too much manure in an enclosed space like the coop, it can get overwhelming if you let it. It's not a daily chore by any means, and your nose will let you know when it's time to clean things out. 4, they're great for kids as pets. And for all you families out there, raising chickens can be a great way to teach responsibility. Plus, they're fun little pets. Each one has its own personality. It's like having a flock of quirky, feathery comedians in your backyard. But be warned, not all pets and chickens get along, so your dog may not be so thrilled. Also, roosters are protective of the flock and can get aggressive. You don't really need them. I'll let you in on a little secret. The hens will lay great eggs whether there's a rooster or not, so think long and hard about whether you really need one or not. If you do get a rooster, keep it to 1. Your typical rooster will look after anywhere from 1 to 2 dozen hens. You really don't need more than that. Now, those are the pros. Let's talk about some of the downside of having chickens at home. Number 1 is the mess factor. Let's get real. Chickens are messy. We're talking chicken poop. And lots of it, and you're going to be cleaning it up. Chicken coops need to be cleaned regularly, and trust me, it's not the most glamorous part of the job. So if you're squeamish or not into that kind of maintenance, that might be a deal breaker for you. Number 2, the noise. Chickens aren't exactly quiet, especially if you've got a rooster. And while roosters are great protectors of the flock, they'll make sure to tell you about it at 5 a.m. every day, all day. So if you like to sleep in, maybe think twice before adding a rooster to the mix. Also, depending on how close you have them to the house, sometimes the hens even can get into squawking. They have fights, They'll see something they don't like, or they'll just squawk because they're pissed off for no reason I can figure out. Number 3, predators and safety. This is a big one. Depending on where you live, your chickens might attract local wildlife. Raccoons, foxes, hawks, possums, you name it, everyone loves a chicken dinner. So you'll need to invest in a good coop and probably spend some time fortifying your backyard. Or you'll wake up one morning to find your flock's been, well, downsized. Number 4, feed cost and time commitment. Don't forget that chickens need to be fed every day. They're not cats. You can't just leave a bowl of food and walk away for a week. You're committed to daily care, making sure they're fed, watered, and housed. Plus, feed costs can add up, especially if you've got a larger flock. So make sure you're ready for that responsibility. One of the ways I deal with this is I have enough hens that I have a surplus of eggs that I'm able to sell for just enough money to pay for the feed. So it's a zero-sum game for me. That doesn't work for everybody. Like I said, I've got the space and the setup to do that. For most families though, 2, 3, or 4 hens will give you all the eggs you need. So is it worth it? For some people, absolutely. If you love the idea of fresh eggs, want a natural pest control team, or enjoy the charm of farm life in your backyard, raising chickens could be for you. Plus, they're a lot of fun. Quirky, curious little creatures that give back way more than you'd expect. But, and this is important, it's not all sunshine and rainbows. If you're not ready to commit to daily care, or if the idea of cleaning up chicken poop gives you nightmares, it might not be the best fit. At the end of the day, raising chickens can be incredibly rewarding, but it's not a decision to take lightly. There's work involved, sometimes more than people realize. And if you haven't noticed, I didn't mention anything about raising chickens for meat. That's a whole nother level of involvement that most people are not prepared for. But for those who are ready to dive in, it's a lifestyle choice that can bring a lot of joy, satisfaction, and of course, eggs. So what do you think? Are you ready to start your own backyard flock, or does this sound like way too much? Let me know in the comments. I'd love to hear your thoughts, especially if you've got chickens or are thinking about getting them. And as always, if you've got questions, hit me up down below. Thanks for watching, and I'll catch you next time. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and all that good stuff. See you soon.